Hello and welcome. This is Japan, and this is a TNA Genesis prediction video. To be honest, I feel like this is going to be a harder prediction video than most because it's supposed to have some like NXT crossover thing to it. So I feel like at any moment there could be like people that pop up from NXT, and I feel like that's what it's gonna be. But because they literally, I think, just kind of threw this in there at the last minute, I don't think we know. I feel like there probably is gonna be like post match stuff, and yeah. So I guess I will make some wild predictions at the end of each one to maybe what could happen for NXT's involvement. I don't know. We got the pre-show match, which is Frankie Kazarian versus Leon Slater. I feel like Kazarian is going to win this, right? Because he still has the automatic title shot, right? So I feel like this is probably just an easy match to build him up and get him on the card. Next up, we have the System, which is Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers versus Eric Young and Steve, what is it, Macklin? Um, I honestly don't know much about either tag team. I know the System's like kind of bigger, and because of that, I'm assuming that the System will win. I feel like those two matches, like the pre-show match and this match, were like the ones that like haven't had a ton of like build up, at least in my eyes, and maybe I'm wrong. I don't really like my TNA knowledge is like I watch highlights and stuff, and if I can get as much of the show I can, I do have a little sneaky VPN type thing now, so I can actually maybe watch some of these on other platforms, which I actually don't think I have anything that's like that. But on for TNA, I think I just watch it on like a site. I actually don't remember. But yeah, next up we got Jordan Graves versus Tessa Blanchard. This one's a weird one because if you are TNA and um, Jordan Grace is staying with TNA, you absolutely have her beat the brakes off of Tessa Blanchard. But if she's leaving and Tesla's gonna be like your new number one piece to do stuff with, then you would have her win. And I don't feel like in this merger with NXT we're gonna see anything like that. I have a feeling like if Grace wins, like if Jordan Grace is winning and going to the WWE just because like it's permanent, like with her contract, I think she wins and then announces it at the end of this match. But I think overall, I think she still wins. I think it's kind of the thing here to do unless she's leaving. That's the only caveat. If Jordan Grace is leaving TNA because her contract has expired and they're not bringing her back, then you have Tessa win. But I don't see it other than that. Then we got the Knockouts World Tag Team Champions. It is what Spitfire. It's Danny Luna and Jody Threat versus Ash by Elegance and Heather by Elegance. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know where this Heather by Elegance came from. Ash by Elegance is just Dana Brooke, but I actually don't know who this other person is. I'm gonna go with the champions with Danny and Jody winning here because yeah, they just kind of seem a random thing that they've thrown together to make an extra tag team. Um, at the end of this match, I don't think really anything in NXT happens because I would be saying that Metaphor girls would probably be the perfect people to confront them. But like they're already having a match with the tag team champs later on, and I think that might be a little bit too much. Putting stuff too much in there. But you never know. I don't think there's really any other women's tag team from NXT that could really get there. I could possibly see what is it, Tatum Paxley, Gigi Dolan, and Shotzi going, and it would probably just be Dolan and Paxley having a match against them. I could possibly see that, but I'm not really sure on that one. I do think it's a possible. I'm trying to predict as much as possible because I feel like we're just kind of like left off with not having much of anything like that. Then we have an I Quit match, which is Josh Alexander versus Mike Santana. Um, I feel like the way that Josh Alexander has been built for the last couple of years, he wins this. The heels normally lose I Quits matches, and I don't really know about Mike Santana if he's technically a babyface, but like normally the heel loses these type of matches. But I'm gonna still hedge my bet. I'm taking Josh Alexander. Then we have the TNA X Division champion, which is Moose versus Ace Austin. Uh, Again, I don't really think we're going to see much of a difference here. I think Moose wins. Moose probably gets confronted by somebody in NXT. I feel like the best person to confront him would be like Wesley, But I could see Wesley, Trick Williams, something like that would be a good idea because I think that would be something to set up a feud for later on. Because, like I'm saying, I'm pretty much just predicting that we're gonna see NXT people pop up all over this event if that's what that event's supposed to be. Because obviously they're not in the card, so they have to just set up matches for later on NXT, TNA, whatever, which shows they get extra people on it. And I have people like that, like Wesley, who's kind of not in the middle of anything, Trick Williams, who's trying to figure out what he's gonna do next. Those type of people would be perfect, and Moose would be a good opponent to him, being a veteran of the business. Then we have the TNA Knockouts World Championship match. It's in a Clockwork Orange House of Fun match. I don't think I've ever heard of that type of match. I vaguely know what it means by the Clockwork Orange part. I'm just assuming some of the weapons and stuff will be like that type of stuff. I'm not 100% sure. It's Smash Pova versus Rosemary. I think it would be a cool matchup to see these two go head to head, but I don't think there's going to be any change here. And I do think Smash Pova is going to be confronted by somebody on the roster from the women's to challenge for it, but it's not going to be somebody that's super high up there in the card. So I could definitely see somebody like maybe Sol Ruka, or I mean, even Zarya could be a good person to pop up there just for, somebody who is high enough up there to challenge Smash Pova for the Knockouts Championship at some point, but wouldn't be so much of a threat that she could win the title off of her. I think they've used Carmen Petrovich at some time, so that could also be somebody. There's a lot of people that they could use. Next up, we have the tag team title match. This is a dream match. I'm guessing just because it's the Hardys versus the Rascals. I honestly don't know on this match where to go because the Hardys are the tag team champions, and it does make sense to keep them in there because it's like the name value of the Hardys, and like it's probably their last run. But with this thing maybe possibly bridging the gap that the Hardys could go back to the WWE, I feel like you keep the championships on it because then with the championships versus like let's say Nathan and Axiom, something like that could be a fun matchup to do, like champion versus champion, and I would like that. The Rascals, I feel like, are the better team to, basically, decide to do that type of stuff and put the titles on them because they've obviously been doing amazing work and they had already some time over in NXT, so it could go both ways there. I think the Hardys win here. I think it sets up a Frazier and Axiom matchup. I don't think any of the other men's tag teams would probably go in there. I could see it either way that Nathan and Axiom challenge whoever wins here into a tag match because it would work. And yeah, I think the Rascals already being on NXT just doesn't make a lot of sense again. But I don't know. Basing this off a lot of the TNA and NXT stuff, I think is kind of what I feel like is going to change the crowd, like change this whole card because it's like their changing of guard and they're like having whatever they're going to have with these two companies working together, I think will set up more stuff in the future. So you want certain people to be in place. And that's when we get to the World Championship. Now, Nick Namath slash Dolph Ziggler has been really good as a champion here. And I feel like if they're ever going to pull the trigger on Joe Hendry, it's here because he's been to NXT and he's done all that. Where does he go after this? Because, like a lot of people have faded with the I Believe in Joe Hendry stuff, and like a lot of people said it was like a 15-minute thing. I don't think it was. I think he's still phenomenally over in a lot of the sense. And if he goes back to NXT, I think he'd go over. It'd still be a big thing. So I feel like this is the time to pull the trigger and give him the TNA championship. I really do. I don't really necessarily feel like it's like a guarantee. A lot of these cards, like I can't tell you what they're gonna do. I think the problem is the whole NXT looming around them has really probably changed my feelings on a lot of this. I feel like if I didn't think about that, then a lot of this card would be different. But I think because it's gonna happen and it is happening, that it does change a lot of the things. So I guess we'll see. This is what my feeling is. It takes place in Texas, so it's kind of interesting that it's taking place where Raw is taking place. So maybe there'll be some people traveling in between, but I honestly think it's going to be pretty decent show. I'm not too upset with a lot of the matchups. It seems like it'd be pretty solid matchups. I'm not huge in depth with all the TNA roster towards the bottom of the card, but so far from what I'm seeing, I'm like a lot of these matchups could be really good, and they could really fit some NXT people into confronting them and building a future storyline and stuff. So I guess we'll see. And if you guys like these prediction videos, tell me. I don't really cover TNA stuff super lot, but I would like to be doing more. I've been covering more of the Joshi wrestling and the obviously WWE stuff. But if people are enjoying it, I will always spend the time to cover it. So we'll see you guys next time. It's been Japan. Bye, guys.